Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I want to ask the question, can respect for women go too far? And I believe that it can, and that the phenomenon of why women don't really like nice guys is an explanation for my answer. Now, consider that you could suggest that one of the hallmarks of civilization is respect for women. In other words, the biological basis for feminism is the idea that men are animals and that they, and that biology and nature and dominance oppresses women, right? So if you're an 8-year-old and you're watching a nature show, you could look at one of your parents and say, why are those bigger creatures, going after those smaller creatures all the time? Why are these bigger lions with these manes going after these, smaller lions without manes? Is that big one hurting that little one? And depending on the answer that the parent gave to the child, it could shape their whole worldview. Do you know what I mean? I'm sorry. It still hurts when I laugh. I'm recovering from a very strange situation. I overexposed myself to the sun, and I'm a vampire, and it's bad. But seriously, what can happen is the skin can actually think that it's being attacked, right? I was out riding in 110 degree heat for 6 to 8 hours within a 36-hour period. And the skin can think it's being attacked, the entire immune system kicks in, and the body starts suffering from cold and flu-like symptoms. And that's what I've been dealing with for the last 4 or 5 days. And I'm getting better, but it's still, it's not good. So, yeah, I can't tell any jokes, or not any good ones. So, and this is such a funny topic. You can see how within a civilized society, in other words, once you leave a hunter-gatherer society and move into an agricultural and then further into an industrial society, the way that men and women interact, the way that women pick their men is going to change. In other words, we come from this hunter-gatherer background, where we are animals, basically. And the women are going to be picking men based on who's the strongest animal. Dominance, essentially. I don't even know that the woman's actually picking the man, rather the man is picking the woman. And the strongest male has his pick, and the other men, just have to get by. Then we change to an agricultural society, and we bring in laws to respect the women. Not a bad thing in and of itself, right? You're not going to be able to build families otherwise. You're just going to have this, endless male competition. You're not going to be able to build up civilization. You're not going to be able to provide security and freedom for the whole civilization. You're not going to be able to develop artists, philosophers, science, advanced mathematics. You're always just going to be down at that base level of, fighting. And the only thing that's going to advance anything, is the military arts. Did you know that, in the Roman times, a man was much better off being in the army than he was just being like a peasant or a slave or just a regular citizen? In the army, he got regular food, he got medical care. There were a whole host of benefits that he was not going to get otherwise. So as we move away from this masculine, militaristic-based society, this hunter-gatherer-based society, we come into this agricultural, even industrial stage. Respect for women, individual rights become enshrined. And you can understand why they have to be, right? You're not going to build any sort of enterprises. You can't build businesses, right? So you can't advance your civilization without a respect for individual rights. And that includes women. You're welcome. At the same time, you've got this evolutionary pressure, this mate selection pressure taking place, in that the women are no doubt choosing the men who are going to hang around longer and who are more submissive. But if they pick men that are too submissive, the men are not effective. It's a fine line there, isn't it? This is why women like the bad boys. Or rather, this is why certain types of men get labeled as bad boys. So it's this balance. Now, the society is leaning more and more towards, the beta male, the domesticated man, the submissive man. The women are picking it. The civilization, the rules, the institutions are enforcing it. You come into a modern industrial age with mass communication, entertainment, organized religion, and the values are mirrored. They're amplified. So it's not just, that crazy teacher with his crazy ideas. It's the teacher. It's the movies. It's the news. It's the commercials. It's the music. It's all the people, it's all your peers that are echoing these values of you have to take care of the women, you have to respect the women. And you wouldn't build otherwise. You just wouldn't do it. So now you're a super advanced technological society. There you go. Welcome to, Star Trek. Yeah, what future would you guys rather have, Star Trek or Star Wars? I think Star Trek, because at least it's technologically, scientifically based. Star Wars is, mystical and magical and stuff like that. It's almost like you couldn't have these two opposing mindsets and build up to that level of technology. So you see the evolutionary, sociological, cultural forces moving modern civilization towards a more and more civilized man, a beta man. You can understand how the civilization is saying we want less men that are like Attila the Hun, and more submissive, male feminists. You can understand from even a biological point of view how the mothers and the sisters and the female teachers are representing the biological situation of the female to the males. That's horrible, stigmatizing the men with that. It's also a dirty trick. And why would you be mad at the men for that anyway? You should be mad at biology. Largely, women's complaints has to do with the fact that they're born women and, that there are certain biological truths that have to be dealt with in that situation. And they want justice. They don't think it's fair. And they're mad. They're angry at the men and the boys, and they're going to teach them a lesson. So what I'm suggesting is that this respect for women that is like this natural phenomenon of building this modern civilization, it can go too far and it can become poisonous, and it rejects the individualistic freedom and male aggression and strength that builds the civilization. You need that balance. Yeah, it's like the Star Trek episode. Hey, there you go. Mirror, Mirror, right? Where Kirk goes through the transporter and is split into two different individuals. One, completely submissive, completely civilized. The other, completely aggressive, manipulative, ambitious, few moral or ethical considerations. He gets split into these two different individuals. And they take the civilized one and they say, okay, you're the real one and you're in charge of the starship. And they take the other one and they say, you're terrible, you're horrible, you're aggressive, you're hostile. You like women and want to have sex with women and you fight with other men. And they locked him up. Maybe that wasn't Mirror, Mirror. Yeah, it's a different one. You guys are going to have to remind me which one it is in the comment section below. The civilized, moral, ethical one was completely incapable of commanding the starship. He was indecisive. He was too considerate. He was too empathetic. He couldn't do anything. Eventually, he was a nervous wreck, right? And the other one escapes. The evil one takes over, right? But then eventually, they integrate the two personalities by putting them back through the transporter. And it's an interesting story, and it kind of deals with this subject well. In the end, Spock reminds Kirk that it was a lot easier for the civilized man to act like the aggressive man than it was for the aggressive man to act like the civilized man, and suggests that the aggressive man is in fact the true flower of humanity. So what I'm suggesting is that Kirk's respect for women, it was too strong. It was too much. It doesn't work, okay? If you want to have a dance, one person has to lead. You can't have two people trying to lead the same dance, both trying to direct each other. One person has to let the other lead. And nature dictates that women must let the men lead. And all these forces, biologically, socially, politically, are forcing the men down this overly civilized road, giving up their strength, their aggression, their decisiveness, their ambition. And this is what happens in the individual man's life as well. Like he gets around with the women and they start telling him what to do, what to think, how to look at the world, how to act. If he doesn't act the right way, they come down on him. And they quelch those great male qualities that we need in order to be strong and to survive. So remember that. You don't have to act like an asshole. You don't have to be angry. But you do need to be in touch with your primitive side. You do need that strength. So, like Kirk, I suggest that the men somehow reintegrate these two aspects of their personality into one and no longer feel any shame towards being bigger, stronger, faster, more decisive. And recognize that this tendency to respect and pedestalize and worship women can go way too far. And the women within the civilized setting, there's no stopping it. Do you see what I mean? There's no restraint on it. In a natural environment, the natural environment is the restraint on it. In other words, the woman says, I'm just as good as a man, and you're like, okay, then fine. Go out and successfully perform the hunt. And she can't. So it's like, no, you're not. So stop acting like it. But then you have your modern civilized society, and the woman says, I'm just as good as a man, and she goes out, and with the use of the man's tools and technology, she can successfully complete the hunt. And the men are like, damn, why are we even men? Why are we even competing? Just give it to her, let her have it. But if it was another man, they would fight over it. So another thing that men need to do is they need to find a way to fight back and deal with women and stand up to emotional abuse and things like that. It's like a man could be in a business meeting having a conversation talking about the financial future of the company, and all of a sudden the woman can start to cry. The man is like, or accuse the man of being, a brute. And the man is like, well, I don't have any answer to that. I don't have any tools to that. And then she can just continue to escalate the emotions. And the man is just like, whoa, what are you doing? I'm sorry. Do you see what I mean? That tendency of submitting to the woman, of respecting the woman, that's what she's playing on. So, and it's disgusting to see that this lesser virtue of the woman's emotions dominating this higher emotion of the man's rationality and knocking him down to that level. So these are just some of my views and thoughts on this subject. Consider it yourself. Consider the best way forward for a man to be strong and confident in life. And please like, share, comment, subscribe, donate, and join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. Thank you, MGTOW.